Tonight on Q2, troubles over turkeys.
You know, people say, oh, quit feeding them. It's too late because they're domesticated.
As flocks roam Billings roads, one neighborhood is searching for solutions, looking to take action. Plus, rushing waters. City of Billings still trying to pick up the pieces 2 years after historic floods upended hundreds of lives across the area. And rappelling down the rim rocks. Training day for Rocky Vista students as they complete a unique mission. The MTN 10 o'clock news starts right now.
From Montana's news leader, this is the MTN 10 o'clock news.
Well, good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Thursday night. I'm Russ Riesinger. Well, tonight, a tale of turkeys. You've probably seen them or maybe even been stuck in traffic because of them on busy streets like Rimrock Road and Zimmerman Trail. But as our Andrea Lutz reports, one Billings neighborhood is now coming together to find a solution for the troublesome turkeys.
6.
Take a look.
At least 7.
At this trail of turkeys.
And I got out my phone and I videoed it and told my husband, isn't this great? And it was great till they grew up.
2 years ago, this was the site from Carol Van Kuren's front yard.
And they've broken a lattice in the back. They broke our gate, scratch up paint. They tear up roof tiles.
That's when she says the turkeys became trouble.
Some of them weigh as much as 30 pounds.
With their feathers fluffed up, the turkeys trot where they want to trot, stopping traffic in their tracks, even for me. I took this video one rainy morning on 32nd Street.
And if you brake, suddenly you injure human lives.
So Carol, along with the Rimrock Neighborhood Task Force, is flagging the city about the turkey turmoil. But there's no official plan to deal with them.
The city council will tell homeowners how many chickens you can have in your backyard, but they're not limiting how many turkeys are running around here. And the Fish and Game can't manage the turkeys until the city council gives them directive.
I'm probably on the side of the turkey.
Sheila Hancock McKay, who owns a bird rehabilitation habitat in the West End, says word is there's as many as 500 turkeys. The flock brought in the 1950s.
Well, there's a mixed flock, and that's one of the big problems. The very, very best way to get a turkey to leave you alone is to open an umbrella, preferably a black umbrella, because they'll read that as a big bird puffing up.
And while the city tells me it's worked with FWP to share advice with residents on ways to haze the turkeys,
I'm doing a little video.
Carol believes people are still feeding them to keep them around.
It's very discouraging me.
So she says it's time to take action.
Red Lodge has allowed homeowners to use a bow and arrow and get rid of them. I don't really advocate that because in a neighborhood like this, I don't want arrows flying around, people shooting turkeys. So I think they should do what Casper, Wyoming has done, and they let the game wardens go in and actually call the flock.
In Billings, Andrea Lutz, MTN News.
A Washington man has been sentenced to 7 days behind bars for thermal trespassing at Steamboat Geyser in Yellowstone National Park. According to court documents, Victor Pishniuk crossed over the fence and walked up the hillside within 15 to 20 feet of Steamboat Geyser's steam vent. He told officers he left the boardwalk to take photos. The judge explained the sentence is designed to not only deter him but others from leaving the boardwalk area. Steamboat Geyser is a prominent feature with the park and the world's tallest and most dangerous active geyser. A Billings man who was reported missing yesterday has now been found. The Yellowstone County Sheriff's Office says 45-year-old Bradley O'Brien was located this morning. He was taken to the hospital to get checked out. The Billings Police Department said O'Brien may have been suffering from a life-threatening medical issue. 2 years ago today, south central Montana was ravaged by historic floodwaters. Well, the damage was not nearly as extensive here in Billings. The city is still feeling the impact today. In fact, city leaders are aiming to fix a $3 million problem to one of the city's 2 water intake systems. Our Diane Parker revisits that day and the work still left to do now.
The city of Billings could have a water capacity issue, and that's because this backup intake system right in the middle of the Yellowstone River is still offline and severely damaged following flooding back in 2022. The Public Works Department has a plan to fix it, and it's in the bidding process right now.
This was the scene exactly 2 years ago as cottonwood trees and debris mangled the catwalk leading to the city's backup water system. It's still broken, and so is the intake.
This whole thing shifted off of the bridge pier. The access to the intake was damaged. The handrail was damaged,
making the walkway very unsafe for workers and the system the city relies on for clean drinking water when river levels are low due to drought or ice jams unusable.
The scenario in which we would use this is if the drought got fairly severe to the point where we couldn't get water into the other intake.
This is the backup intake, and this is the primary. Not far apart, but both critical.
This intake is ice jam resilient.
But when it isn't working, it has potential to create panic like in 2022.
We are working nonstop to bring the plant back up.
We were at Sam's Club. We went to Costco. They were both said they were totally out of water.
It was the most challenging day in my 8-year career here. I mean, the water was above that catwalk right there. Myself and several staff, I think we ended up working 36 hours straight.
But between Public Works and Montana Disaster and Emergency Services, there's a $3 million plan in place to avoid a water shortage.
This Billings architectural and engineering project for the water intake system is one of our highest priorities.
We're actually going to build the intake a little bit higher, 4 feet higher, to get it out of the flood zone.
And city officials say permitting and working in an undammed river is why this project takes time.
We're working closely with our partners at FEMA to ensure that we continue pushing this project through to get it completed by the end of 2025. We talk almost daily with the City of Billings. We meet weekly with FEMA and the engineers on their contractors.
The project is now in the bidding phase, and the city says we can expect cranes and workers soon so residents can continue to rely on clean drinking water. In Billings, Diane Parker, MTN News.
That was 81 for the daytime high, 5 degrees above the seasonal average where we typically be. It was cool in the morning, but it definitely warmed up. The winds, top gust was only 22 miles per hour. By our standards, that's fairly low. Tomorrow we could see some much stronger winds, but around thunderstorms, anything in the green, especially the dark green shaded areas, which includes Billings and Yellowstone County, some potential for strong to severe storms tomorrow. That could mean some hail, could also mean some strong winds, especially into the eastern plains. And as we get into early next week, we're still talking about snow. Winter storm watches into effect for the western mountains.
A first of its kind training today for students of Montana's first full-time medical school. Students with Rocky Vista University jumping into action and rappelling down rim rocks during a mock mass casualty incident at Phipps Park. Tonight, our David J. dives deeper into training day and the impact they hope it can have on the future.
They had a simulated rock slide right here for the military students and the wilderness students. The idea was to go up there, figure out what they needed, and then bring the patients down here a little farther out there where it'd be easier to help them out with their injuries.
Real quick, any pain here?
Medical help arrives for 5 people injured in a rock slide at Phipps Park, an event for which they prepare, but they hope never happens.
How to triage, how to figure out, assess the patient and what they need within seconds so that it could be really quick. And we were able to practice that.
Kelly Steer is a student at Rocky Vista University's Montana College of Osteopathic Medicine. And this is the school's final simulation of the year.
It felt really real, and it was really exciting to be able to just see all of our skills come to fruition.
Prepare to lift, lift.
Oh.
Prepare to move, move.
These students have taken classes in wilderness medicine and military medicine.
The most important thing, and even for the lay rescuer, anybody that's involved in an event where there's casualties or victims, is to assess the scene safety and make sure that you're not going to get hurt trying to help someone else.
Dr. Jamie Riesberg is the director of military medicine at Rocky Vista. He served as a military physician for 24 years and went on several deployments, including 2 in Afghanistan.
Well, I'd say it'd be pretty daunting if you didn't have a great team.
Dr. Riesberg says teamwork is a big part of this mass casualty simulation.
We want to give them the tools to be successful in those operational medicine environments. Even though that's not a residency, they will be called upon to have certain skills that the nation expects of them, being military physicians.
You guys kept coming back to your examination again and again and again. super impressive.
We're trying to build a generation of military doctors and osteopathic physicians that will work well as a team.
These situations could happen on the rims. They could happen in your day-to-day life, and to be able to be prepared for those has been really critical and kind of inspiring too.
In Billings, David J., MTN News.
The U.S. Supreme Court unanimously ruled this morning to preserve access to the widely used abortion medication mifepristone. The ruling represents the court's first abortion decision since conservative justices overturned the federal right to an abortion 2 years ago. That drug will now stay available to patients up to 10 weeks pregnant without having an in-person doctor visit. The ruling also allows mail-order pharmacies to continue shipping mifepristone nationwide. The justices found the abortion opponents who brought that case lacked the legal standing to sue the FDA. A survey of women in states that severely restrict abortion found that last year, about 8,000 women a month received abortion pills by mail. Ballot initiatives to change the way Montanans elect candidates have all the signatures needed and will be dropped off at state election offices. Ballot initiatives CI-126 and CI-127 aim to change the way Montanans elect legislators. One would change the primary election by allowing voters to vote for any candidate regardless of party. The top four advance to the general election. The other is meant to change elections by requiring a candidate to obtain at least 50% of the vote to win. Opponents argue this would create unnecessary work for voters. However, Montanans for Election Reform ultimately argue these two ballot measures will help reduce polarization in politics and garner candidates that accurately represent the state.
And it's not like this isn't done in a lot of other places in the world and in this country. So the good news is these kind of elections are done successfully and they enjoy the benefits.
The committee says they've collected a total of more than 200,000 signatures between the two. To get on the ballot, each initiative needs more than 60,000 signatures from voters across the state. County election officials will now have 4 weeks to validate those signatures, with the Secretary of State ultimately determining if the measures qualify for the ballot. Still to come on the MTN 10 o'clock news on Q2, traveling the loop.
We're out for a bike ride around the new loop that's open.
For the first time, we'll head out and about on the new Skyway Trail. But first, a focus on mental health. A nonprofit is growing and hoping to save children across rural areas. We'll explain next.
The MTN 10 o'clock news continues right after this.